Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope you're doing really well in this moment in time, and that whenever, wherever you happen to be in the spectrum of the fifth dimensional matrix, I hope that you are able to stay humble while at the same time accepting your greatness. Woo! It's a big one. It's a big one today. It's a big idea. I sat here for a while in meditation. I said, God, you got to give me something to say. I had like 3 ideas yesterday that I forgot already. What am I going to say today, God? I don't know. And I started thinking about how my podcast is not growing as much as I would like it to. And even though you guys are listening, and I'm grateful for that, I want to be able to make a living at this. And because it's coming down to the wire, I'm going to have to get a job. Today I was thinking I have to get a couple jobs. But a few days ago, I started to think, I know I'm going to have to supplement for a while, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with supplementing a dream while the dream is still in progress. Never despise humble beginnings, and I certainly don't. I mean, I've done 504 episodes already. Oh my God. I'm up for an award. This will be the 3rd one. The big one, though. This is a really big one. The other 2 are mentions on a few websites, which I am super grateful for. But I was kind of embarrassed by that, right? So I was thinking that it's okay, if it stays small, because, it's kind of embarrassing. I don't know. I get little, I don't know. I just want to stay anonymous, And I started thinking a few different things, right? And I have been kind of made aware a little bit, and I could be wrong, of course, but I really believe that my twin flame is famous. I know for a fact I'm in my last life. I don't particularly care about that so much, if he's famous or not. I've grew up around famous people my whole life. Celebrities or people that were infamous. My father is infamous, actually. He was all over the media for years. That's what happens when you're the first war criminal in the history of the Vietnam War. I mean, it's nothing to really write home about, and yet, he was a particular set of circumstances that made it kind of outrageous, but at the same time, he went crazy for a little bit. He's okay now. God bless my dad. Love my daddy. But the thing is, when you're in your last life, there's a potential for fame if you've chosen it. I don't know if I did or not. But I started thinking, and this is so strange because I don't, again, I'm just trying to, pay for my life in Ecuador, right? Pay for my life in general. I need to eat, roof over my head. And if I could do it by helping others, that's a million times better than just, waiting tables or something, which would devastate me emotionally because I hate interacting with humans constantly. And then the complaints and someone would end up with food on their head or something, or water in their face. I don't know. I'm not that kind of violent, but I don't know what I'm capable of in that kind of situation under that kind of pressure, right? So I'm trying to live my life quietly at home. And it dawned on me that maybe I should actually accept fame as a part of my field of possibilities. You know, I'm not trying to light a candle and make sure I'm famous. I'm not going to do a deal with the devil. I don't want it that bad. You know, nothing insanely drastic. But it really occurred to me that I need to accept fame. Because if my guy is famous and I've been putting that off, accepting that, well, then I'm putting off accepting my love. And I started thinking about all the couples in Hollywood that are actually super famous. Like one of the, you know, the husband or the wife is super famous, but the spouse is not all that famous. Like people know who they are kind of, but they're not in the industry, so no one really pays attention too much. Maybe a little bit, there's a blurb here and there, but nobody really gives a crap, right? They're just like, yeah, well, you know, his wife's not in the industry, so, you know, hey, she's a good tax accountant if you want to, you know, or you know, her husband, he's an airline pilot, you know, he doesn't really do anything in Hollywood, but she's famous, you know. I've been in situations like that. I have a friend who was, her name was Sissy, and God, I love her so much. Sissy is one of the coolest people in the whole wide world, and we went to hypnotherapy school together, but in her youth, she was kind of famous. And she was on Three's Company. She was on Mystery Science Theater 3000 because one of her movies was absolutely devastatingly embarrassing. So she ended up being famous through like having a crappy movie, which was kind of cool. But she had a bunch of stuff, and actually I think okay, now I look back on this, she was kind of famous. Her husband was excessively famous musician, famous newscaster, and then ended up with like a radio show. Very famous. Never mind. Yeah. So they're both famous. I'm trying to come up with, well, I started thinking about this though. Like, you know, is it okay with me if I became famous? It's such a weird thought to me because I have a friend who was always chasing fame. Always like, oh, I just want to be like the ordained minister to the stars. I just want to have my own church. He does, by the way. He's got his own church. Randomly, the mayor of LA asked him to come and speak and introduce the mayor and give a speech on spiritual stuff. It was really incredible, and he did it. It was one of the most incredible opportunities he could ever have. In fact, he was my first guest on Metaphysical Soul Speak, the radio show. LaRon Jones. He used to be an alcoholic, and he talked about all the things he did to stop being an alcoholic. When he included God, he fixed his life, right? I don't know if he's famous now, but he has worked with a lot of famous people. He has worked with Michael Beckwith, Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith. He has worked with, what is her name? Touched by an Angel. You know who I mean. God rest her soul. She just passed within the past couple years. Anyway, so I don't want to get too off topic, but I started thinking about, like, he was like chasing it hardcore. I mean, to the point where he was going to the Latin Music Awards parties and after parties, and he's just started getting invited to all kinds of stuff. You know, in all different realms, like, you know, the New Age community and, you know, like the spiritual community. And then he went into like the music industry, and then I think a little bit around Hollywood, not so much that, but then politics. So even though he was like chasing it, it started to, you know, finally it started to find him. When he gave up, it started to find him. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, it's not my ambition or goal to be famous, although I want people to really buy my books when I put them out. I haven't put them out yet. I do want to have people listen to my show, you know, and I have been putting that out. I've been putting all my effort into my podcast. And it's rewarding for me when you guys write me and say, hey, I've been listening for a couple months, and it's really been helping me. Now, that's almost an exact quote from somebody who wrote me this past week or two, but this is the same kind of sentiment that I get again and again and again. And I'm so grateful. So many of you have written me, and I'm so grateful for it. So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, you know what? I need to tell this to you guys because, not because it's about me or my life right now, but because in your life, like me, you have to accept the field of possibilities, the realm of possibilities, all of them. You have to accept that maybe you might be homeless for a while. You have to accept that maybe you will win the lottery and live in a $10 million mansion for a while. You have to accept the fact that maybe you're going to be single for a while. You have to accept the possibility that maybe you're going to be married for a while. And when I say a while, I don't mean for 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 months. It could be for 40 years. But that's still a while in the grand scheme of like the history of the planet and all that. I mean, it's not like you're going to be in that house for 1,000 years. I mean, if you're in the States, most houses are going to be good to go for 30, 40, 50, maybe 150 years. Depends on when they were built. My house in Detroit, God bless her beautiful soul. My beautiful house in Detroit is Victorian era, late Victorian era house. And she just hit her 98th year. My house is almost 100 years old. And she's pretty. But she's a brick house. It's like a little brick mansion. A mini mansion. Not a McMansion either. It's a unique house. But in San Francisco, the 100-year-old houses are falling apart. My God, there's so much work going into them. My house needs about $20,000 work, but if this was a painted lady in San Francisco that needed the same amount of work, I mean, seriously, like $100,000 later, $200,000 later. So anyway, I digress. I love real estate. Could talk about that all day. But so I was thinking about all this, and I'm thinking, I want to stay humble. Being humble is very important. It's what keeps you grounded, right? Keeps you in reality world. You can have all the money in the world and all the fame in the world and even all the love in the world and still get cancer. You can have all the health in the world and all the riches in the world and maybe no fame at all and maybe have a love that you can lose. Your husband or wife can still die. So when you get to that point where you have everything, you've got it all, everything you've ever wanted, when you start getting haughty, I don't mean like haughty, I mean haughty, Haughty. And by the way, when I talk like this, I don't want you to think I'm talking down to you. I like to spell some words out because A, I might not be pronouncing it in a way in which you're accustomed, or B, maybe my friends who have English as a second language don't 100% understand unless I spell it out. And sometimes this is also why I will explain a phrase or something. I'm going to English language teaching. I am actually going into this field for my job. But I've been doing this for years, and it's hilarious because I live in South America, and all these people, I talk to people all the time, and then I'll say, and especially if they speak English, so I assume they understand my references. So, and I don't mean like references to TV shows or movies, nothing like that, but I'll say sayings that have been around for 60 years or 100 years in the United States. I grew up around old people, and they had all these crazy old sayings, like from the South, from the Midwest, from all over, and people here are like, what? And then I'll have to explain it, and then I'll explain it in Spanish. I'll say the phrase in Spanish people laugh and laugh and laugh at really weird old phrases that, I mean, we all don't laugh at anymore because we're used to it. And I'm like, wow, I'm actually funny in South America. This is actually cool. I could tell those old tired jokes that nobody laughs at anymore in the States. I could tell them here. But I digress. So basically, when you are Anahata Cat, she just heard the Pepsi Balance episode 2 days ago. Oh, she just heard it from 2 days ago. Hey, girl. I'm glad you're paying attention. That's who that was. Anahata Cat, that's you, baby. You're butting in, but that's cool. I like to think about you. You're a cool person. Anyway, so I started thinking about it, and I read in this book by Dr. Bennett that I've told you guys about before, Karma Transformed, Fast Track Your Evolution. And in this book, God told him while he's meditating that he needs to consider and accept all the field of possibilities for his life. And he's like, I don't know if I want to, God. Like, we always, those of us that a lot of time will get, oh, and here we have, yeah, okay. Thank you, Yasmin. Oh, God. It's like she knows I'm talking about her. She has to keep coming back. Here she is again. Another one. Oh, I love her so much. She just said, have a beautiful day full of unexpected, maybe miracles. I didn't see the last word there. Sometimes like when individuals write me, I forget sometimes to switch off the notifications for the show, and haven't heard from you in a while, Yasmin, but there you go. I'm glad to hear from you now. So anyway, So I was reading this in the book, and I started getting scared about this. Not because of the potential fame. And the thing that with fame is, I want maybe my voice to be famous, maybe my show to be famous, maybe my books to be famous. But I don't really like the whole being recognized in public thing. It's actually happened to me a few times, which is insane. Because people recognized me from like Facebook. Like they randomly added me on Facebook, and like we have a few conversations. Like Henry, what the hell is his name? Henry Weinstock. Yeah. I did not know him from Adam's House Cat. I had no idea who the hell this guy was, but I loved his frickin' hair because he's got a mohawk that goes from ear to ear. He has some of the most insane hair I've ever seen in my life, and it's platinum Billy Idol blonde, like Marilyn Monroe blonde, sexy platinum, right? And he gets really tan, and so he's like really tan with this blonde spiked, like Liberty spikes, ear-to-ear mohawk, right? So years ago, he added me on Facebook. Like, this guy is frickin' cool. And so every now and again, and he's a foodie. He's really thin, and he's in really great shape, but he's a foodie. And it's like the way he eats, you'd think he'd be 1,000 pounds. He had to become a millionaire so that he could keep up his eating habit. I mean, seriously, this guy's got a fantastic metabolism and a beautiful, brilliant smile, winning personality. Love this guy to death, right? I just thought he was just some random amazing dude, right? Adds me on Facebook. We became friends, talking now and again. One day I'm in Las Vegas, and I'm just in my own head. I was still married to my husband at the time, and I was walking through the Rio Hotel, and as I was walking through the Rio Hotel, I was looking for my husband's best friend from high school, who I had never met in person, but he wanted to meet up with me because I'd already been married to his best friend for 10 years, and we're like, this is stupid, we should meet. So we were going to meet in the bar, have a drink, have a few laughs, and then I had to go to a travel convention, and I think he had like a taekwondo class, or I don't know what he did. His profession, he actually works with famous people too. See, it's always been around me, right? But it never had been really me, right? So I'm walking through this hotel, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, I hear Elena. Oh my God, Elena Fox Starks, is that you? Oh my God, I can't believe it's you. Oh, I can't believe we're in the same place at the same time. This is wild. And I turn around, it's Henry. It's Henry. And I'm like, what the hell? Henry, holy crap. I recognize you too. I have face recognition issues, guys. I have face amnesia. I don't remember people hardly at all. I mean, you know how many people, they're absolutely super, super famous that I met, kind of had an hour together hanging out, and then they leave, and then my friends are like, do you know who that is? I'm like, I have no freaking clue. I don't know. He was just kind of cool. It's happened to me again and again and again. I mean, directors, actors, musicians. Met Lemmy, a Motorhead, years ago. I just, so many people, but Henry recognized me, and I recognized Henry. It's the hair, it's the tan, it's that winning, brilliant smile. And it was such a weird thing. I was recognized. It happened to me years ago when I was in a movie. I actually was in a couple little tiny student films, nothing big, but I had a big part in one of them, and people recognized me for a few weeks in Santa Barbara, maybe 2 or 3 months. But most people are like, oh, you're in that movie. That's cool. This Japanese girl, she looked like she couldn't be more than 16 or 17. She couldn't speak English. She was obviously a tourist, the traditional camera around her neck. I mean, kind of tourist. Came up to me, and I was standing I was walking down the street, and I was walking near the theater, and I just stopped in to see if my friend was working, which she wasn't there yet, so I was kind of waiting there for her. And it was when The Little Mermaid was in the theaters. And so I'm standing next to the Little Mermaid poster. And I know I look like, it's my nickname, Mermaid Girl. I was standing next to the Mermaid Girl poster. It was just kind of crazy. But this little Japanese woman, she comes running up to me, and she didn't speak English. And it was so frustrating to her. And I was like, oh my God, bless her little heart. She was the sweetest thing. And she was just jumping up and down, and oh my gosh. And then she says, I take you picture? And I'm like, oh my God, she wants to take my picture. She thinks I'm famous. And I think she made me autograph something, which was crazy. I'm like, okay, sure, why not? She's going to get home and go, who the hell is that? But all right, fine. So I took a picture. So it was the first time I was like recognized as a famous person, even though I was not a famous person, like at all. I'm like, okay. Trying to get into movies. I was trying to be an actor at the time, and I was a model at the time, but my modeling pictures hadn't come out yet, so I was in California Style Mag, so there's no way, California Style Magazine is where I was at, but there was no way that she knew that. There's no way in hell she knew that. It was like a regional magazine. We were in Santa Barbara. There's no way she didn't see that. So I've had that experience, and it's thrilling, and it's amazing, and it's like hilarious, especially when you're nobody. All right, cool. I'm glad I look like a somebody, even though I think at the time I was a security guard. You know what I mean? I was in school for getting my liberal arts degree, my first degree that I got, and then I was a security guard. That's it. Worked my 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week, so I could do all my homework, and I got straight A's that year because all I was doing was homework. It was awesome. But I wasn't famous. I knew famous people. In fact, famous people would walk through my parking lot. It was just like, my life has always been this situation where I can't throw a rock without hitting a famous person. Not that I would throw rocks at anybody, but that's how it was for a while. And something else, and then when I moved to the middle of nowhere in California mountains, north of Paradise, the town that burned down, God rest the soul of Paradise, where I raised my children for 10 years. But when we were up in the mountains in Magalia, we call that a little bit above Paradise. Paradise Pines, actually, is where I was living. Up in the mountains. We get snow sometimes, wasn't super high. Mountains, not where I live now. And it's not like here. Here's super high in altitude. But we were at, just in the middle of nowhere. I barely left the house. It was almost like I was in quarantine back then. I would leave the house only to do grocery shopping. This is before I ever worked any job. And I mean, in 1 year, I met probably 6 famous people, like super, super, super famous people, but in the realms of business, real estate, network marketing, those kinds of things. But people that were superstars in those fields. So they were very, very famous, like Robert Allen. I met him. He called me and we had a pretty big argument. He was kind of a dick, actually. He's like, don't you know who I am? And he was not humble about his fame. And I'm like, freaking, I don't know. I don't really know you. I don't know. He's like, I'm trying to help you become rich. I'm like, well, I'm actually rich in life. I love my husband, love my kids, love my house. We're good. Everything's fine. Now, I wish I would have listened to him back then. But, he was being a dick. So I don't want to work for a dick. He was going to give me kind of like a job and then train me and put me on TV and make me famous, actually. And I'm like, nah. I didn't accept that for myself. I'm too, I don't know if I want to call myself humble at that moment in time. I don't know. But again, in when I was in Detroit, same kind of thing. Like, I contacted somebody who had a cool website about being abducted by UFOs. And it turns out he was on his way to being famous and getting a contract to have a show called Experiencers, and God rest his soul, Jim O'Connell. And he and I became friends. And he wanted me to be a part of the show. Not only as a guest, but then also maybe a co-host type of position. Like, holy man, I'm going to be on TV and have my own TV show. And again, what was I doing? Where was I? I was in a freaking cast in Detroit, in my home. I never left the house. You know what I mean? So like this kind of fame thing I've been avoiding like the plague for many, 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 many decades. I've been always on the outskirts of it and never like kind of in it. Like, oh, I don't know. I'm kind of an introvert, gonna stay home and work or whatever. And I started realizing I need to open up my life and myself to the field of possibilities. And in this book, Karma Transformed by Dr. Bennett, Fast Track Your Evolution, by Dr. Bennett and Cheryl Romney Brown, his wife, they opened up their world to God, and I have too. But I haven't been accepting the field of possibilities for myself, and I need you guys to do this too for yourself. And he even said, does this mean that I should accept the field and realm of possibilities that devils exist and that evil is true and that evil might come into my life and I might be attacked? Maybe I'll die or get sick. Like those kinds of possibilities, I don't want to accept that for my life. And God said, yes, you have to accept all of the possibilities. Also accept the possibilities that you'll be surrounded by angels. Always, you can accept the realm of possibilities that you're going to be rich, that you're going to be healthy, that maybe you're going to stop aging and start reverse aging. Accept in your life the realm and field of possibilities, and I will take care of you, but just keep raising your vibration. Accept everything in your life, but when you have your vibration raised, you're not going to attract the lower shit anyway. I mean, it's not saying that in the book, but it's the facts. It's the facts, Jack. So I started literally this week thinking, I accept richness, abundance, and fame for myself as part of the field of possibilities. I even started accepting the knowledge of the dark side. I mean, maybe I was influenced. I saw a t-shirt, come to the dark side. We've got cookies. I mean, all right. Resistance is futile. Join or die. My son had a coffee mug I bought him. It said join or die. And it was a picture of Darth Vader on it. And Grandma Marion, God bless her, God rest her soul, Reverend Marion Jones. And if you don't know who I mean, because you're new to the show, go back to, I think, February, March of the first season, last year, 2019. I did about 8 or 9 shows on Grandma Marion, or Reverend Marion Jones. She was, I'm pretty certain, a saint, if not like an ascended master. I think she was a saint, which is like one step. It's several steps past being an adept, like a student or an adept. But it's like right before being an ascended master, where you can manipulate space and time and matter and all that shit, like Jesus did, walking on water, creating loaves and fishes with your mind out of nothing. But she was levitating. So she might have been there and didn't really tell us, like saints don't talk about it. Ascended masters don't talk about it. If you're following someone on Facebook and they say they're an ascended master, they're full of shit and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. I started to follow this woman because she had like really amazing posts. And then one day I'm like, who is this woman anyway? Because one of her posts was a little bit judgy and haughty. Here's that word again, Haughty. And I went to her thing and she said she's an ascended master. I'm like, oh, well, delete, unfollow. Those who know do not talk, and those who talk do not know. Thank you, Lao Tzu, otherwise known as Jesus Yeshua, because he was Lao Tzu who wrote the Tao Te Ching before he was Jesus. Basically, Yeshua was his real name, Yeshua. In some translations, his name was actually like Joshua, like Yahshua. But, everyone bastardized his name and called him Jesus, and then made a religious death cult surrounding his life. And seriously, I had like 6 new, I'm not even going to go into it right now, but I had 6 brand new insights about the Catholic Church that actually let me realize and see it in a new way. I mean, I grew up Catholic when I was very little, left the church when I was 8, so very little. But I started seeing some shit about the Catholic Church that I thought, oh my God, this is one of the most evil, horrible things in the world. And like a lot of you are like, well, duh, I mean, pedophiles. But beyond that, just the religion itself. The other Christian religions aren't as evil, but they all still are. I'm going to go into it. I don't know. I might do a whole freaking show on it. It's when God gives me the go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and do it. But anyway, but I started thinking about, I've been really contemplating evil lately, not doing it, not accepting it into my life. But there's so many evil things going on in the world right now that can be absolutely, truly classified as evil. And I don't mean, devils tempting us. No, because you know what? Unless you have it in you to begin with, the devil's not going to be able to tempt you, babe. If you do not have an addictive personality, you can live for 2 months in a place where everyone around you is doing drugs, and you might partake once in a while, but you're not going to walk out of there as an addict because it's not in you. Demons can be all around you going, smoke the joint, take the MDMA, take a snort of that coke. But if you're not having that as one of your points of shame, it's not going to affect you. Cool, thank you, demon. Maybe I will try it. Awesome. I mean, I met people who smoked crack once, and then they couldn't stop for months. I met a guy, I'm not going to say his name, but he was from Europe. Not going to say the country. Love this guy so much. Really brilliant musician. And what happens in Bogota, Colombia is the guys who sell the joints that they keep in their wallet or pockets or whatever, the guys that sell the drugs partake a lot. It's a party city. It's an amazing city. One of the most amazing cities I've ever been to in my life. And I miss it. And I made so many friends that I am still friends with several years later. Which is very hard to do when you're traveling and meeting people on the fly and you know them for 2 or 3 days and then never again. But a lot of the people that I met, like my friend Patrick, the day that we met, the moment we met, we had like a shouting match. That was like our first conversation, was like screaming at each other. He was trying to sell drugs to my kids, not realizing they were kids. And he was high himself, so... And I had to talk him down and then say, look, you're trying to sell my child, my teenage girl, drugs. He's like, oh my God, you're a teenager? Fuck, you can't do drugs. What the hell's wrong with you? Oh my God, I thought you were an adult. Oh my God. He's like, this is my business. Get the hell away from me, right? And well, after that misunderstanding, we actually became very good friends. I apologized. He apologized. We smoothed each other's feathers over and everything was fine. But... But I don't know, in Bogota, sometimes, you'll say, hey, give me a joint, you give them $1 worth of their money. And sometimes you get a joint with crack in it, because they pull it from the wrong pocket. It's like, oh my God, I do not want to freaking smoke this ever in my life, but okay. Don't want to waste it. I mean, I paid money for it. I'll roll with it. All right. But I have a friend who did that and he got hooked on it, but the thing is, the demons are always around just going, why don't you try that? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that again? And I saw people getting hooked on sex with multiple partners without protection and just like devastating their lives. I saw a woman who did so many drugs, she passed out in the center of the hostel and fell to the ground, foamed at the mouth. We had to call the paramedics, turn her over so she wouldn't choke on her own vomit. And I, one by one, systematically healed every single one of these people over the course of 2.5 months. Not saying that they're all healed of their demons or whatever, but word got out and they all came to me saying, I have this problem. Can you help me with this? I have this issue. I have this childhood issue. It's wrecking my life. I need help. And so absolutely for free, I helped the whole hostel full of people. And we're all very good friends now. And I love every single one of those people right now. People that were considered by society to be absolutely despicable. But you don't understand why people get in those situations anyway. Why would that be in their psyche? Why would they attract the demons to do it? And the thing is, once you get to the point where you're over the addiction, the demons leave you alone. They just pull it out of you to see what you would do with that information. Are you going to make it really bad and get everyone around you hooked on drugs? Or are you going to go through the motion and the paces of it and then get better and then never, ever partake in anything again that would harm you? Because when you get better on a soul level, you don't need that. And every now and again, it's fun to drop acid. Every now and again, it's fun to smoke a joint. But overall, you don't become an addict anymore, But it's something, so that's just one example, right? Okay, long-ass example, explanation, whatever. But I was thinking about this whole field of possibilities thing, and I was thinking that I'm going to accept the richness for myself of life. I'm accepting the high quality cheese, and I'm accepting the coffee, and I'm accepting my responsibility as a human to other humans, and I'm accepting that these beautiful wolf dogs that want to be in my house every second of every day, they almost want me to be, I don't know if they want me to be their owner, because they're free sovereign beings. They have 6 or 7 houses of people that feed them and love them and let them in. And every time I get a delivery, the delivery guy always thinks it's my dogs and asks why I'm not calling them off. It's like, they're their own people. They're my neighbors. They don't belong to my neighbors. They are my neighbors. But I have to accept the field of possibilities that Blackie, God bless her sweet little dog wolf heart, is downstairs right now laying on the floor next to my son, who's asleep on the couch. I went out to look at Comet Neowise today with my kid, and the wolf dogs were there, and every time this old dude, he was like special forces, Ecuadorian special forces, military dude, and he runs with the stick, and he runs with this little red dog she's the sweetest little thing. But because my son and I were out there, our wolf dog friends had to chase him, bark at him, growl at him, and then they come back and they would stand like in the first line of defense in front of me. And then Lobo would like just sit on my feet to make like, look, I'm here to protect you because I love you and you're my friend. Like, they're absolutely like willing to fight to the death to like that kind of loyal. These dogs love us so much. We love them too, but we're just like, you can't really spend the night in here, dude. Like, come on, I have asthma, They're a lot more committed to us than we are to them, but we do love them very much. I'm going to put a picture of them up on my Instagram so you guys could see these super adorable puppies. Oh my God. I want them to be my dogs. I just got to figure. In fact, I did find somebody who could give me a herbal concoction so that I will never, ever, ever be allergic to dogs again. So I'm going to order that. Because the South American version of never being allergic to a dog again is you have to eat a puppy. I kid you fucking not. You have to eat a puppy. If you can slow roast a puppy, like a baby puppy, kill it, roast it, and eat it from the whole thing. I mean, not the internal organs, of course, but you eat the whole thing, you'll never be allergic to dogs again. My girlfriend's brother did that when he was a kid. His parents made him eat a puppy. It's a thing. It's like part of the culture. It's like absolutely gruesome. Like, not gonna fucking do that. I'd rather just keep taking my inhaler and my Benadryl. Thank you very much, but no. When I was in South America, when I was in Peru, my ex-boyfriend said, but you should just eat a puppy. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? He's like, or just go to the witch's market and eat a frog in a blender. I'm like, I know he's fucking with me right now. He's just screwing with my head. No, it's actually true. Apparently these things actually work. Gruesome and crazy as they are, people do get over their allergies and asthma with these. I'm not gonna kill a frog to get rid of asthma. It's like crazy. I'm like, hell no. That's a field of possibility I'm not gonna consider. Thank you very much. But I have been exposed to a lot more things that I have perceived to be evil, such as using animal body parts for magic. I don't do that. Except I do a little bit. I've got a rattlesnake tooth. Well, actually, I think it's an anaconda spine that I bought from the jungle people in Peru. And I bought it from them so that they would have money, because that's what they use to eat. Sometimes they need to go into town to do whatever, get their medicine, whatnot. And I do have some beautiful feathers of parrots on these little dream catchers. So in a way, it's, parts from animals. But they do eat the snakes, and they do honor the snake's spirit, and they do ceremonies around it. They're native, So, I do have it, but I don't actively use it. I don't go out of my way seeking animal parts, right? But I started accepting the evil, the demons, the devil himself. Lucifer has been here. He was here a couple days ago. And I just sat here. I was laying in bed. I was trying to wake up. It was in the morning, and he came and visited me, and he's like, all right, sister, I got one for you. You haven't gotten laid in a while. Well, no, I haven't. Next thing I know, I get a text from somebody who's like, Hey, I wish you were here with me. What would we be doing? And he's someone I really care about. It's somebody I've been friends with for a long time. He lives in Bulgaria. I've never met him. Beautiful, beautiful man. Really too young for me, but beautiful, sweet, beautiful heart, musician. So I talked to him a lot. He's depressed, so I talked to him a lot. He's in Bulgaria. He's like, it's like, this country sucks. I'm like, dude, I wanted to buy a house in Bulgaria. You know how cute those country houses are? The big, thick, it looks like a fairy tale cottage. Those houses are beautiful. $8,000 will get you a fairy tale cottage and a piece of land. But he said, yeah, but people are violent, a lot of drugs. It's not a good country to live in. I'm like, okay, I didn't know about that. So maybe we're taking that one off the list. Cross Bulgaria off the list. Okay. I'm like, well, that'd be an easy way. I mean, you buy a house in Bulgaria, you become a citizen immediately, and now you have access to the whole European Union. That's what I was thinking. I don't think I need that. Maybe I do. Maybe I want it. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. But I love the field of possibilities, so I was accepting that as a potential. But as I started thinking, I'm going to accept the evil, I'm going to accept the demons, I'm going to accept the devils, and when they come to me, if they do, I'm going to give them love. And love them as myself, love them as my own children, love them as my own friends, because I started recognizing and realizing that everything is God anyway. Everything is for my benefit anyway. Everything is for your benefit anyway. You get it out of your system, you're no longer addicted. You get it out of your system, you no longer go off and have random sex with people. Like when this guy started kind of coming on to me the other day, I'm like, all right, well, I got to go now, but you know what? Take care, sweetie, all right? And I just was like, I'm not going to participate or engage in that. You know, it's not that that was a temptation necessarily for me at all, but Lucifer said, well, what about that? You haven't been, sexually active in a while. I'm like, dude, I'm celibate. Come on, leave me alone, Lucy, And that he tried to tempt me, and I considered it for about 5 minutes, and I'm like, nah. I'm waiting for my twin flame, honey. I'm done. Waiting for my twin to come into my life. When he telepaths to me saying, I'm not interested in being in your life or having a relationship or anything, and I don't even want to meet you, then maybe I'll consider going and having a relationship with somebody, but, somebody else. But right now, I'm just waiting for my twin, and he says he's coming. He's going to call me. He's hoping this week he'll get the nerve up to say hi, but I'm kind of enjoying this weird telepathic relationship, but Lucy tried to tempt me, and I was unfazed by it. Almost fazed by it, and then he's like, well, good. And then you know what he said to me? You've passed the test. I'm like, is there anything else that is in my psyche, in my world, in my anything? And he's like, are you suicidal anymore? And I said, I'm actually going to choose life. I think I am over that old chestnut. Thank you, God. Because the last few times it passed through my mind, as the things that demons carry on the wind do, it honestly had lost a lot of its power, and I realized that I'm stronger than the dark thought. But it is a field of possibility, and I have to accept it. And you know what? The moment you start to accept everything about yourself, even your darker nature, your shadow side, your shadow self, the things you weren't proud of, and you just go, you know what, though? Fuck it all. I actually did say that shitty thing. I did do that crappy thing. I was that asshole person. I mean, I was under pressure. It's not normally who I am, but yeah, okay, I had a bad day. I had a bad conversation. I said a bad thing once, or I did a bad thing once, but I'm not that anymore. That I learned and I grew and I changed. But then the older things, or the things that are still sticking, the demons will keep coming around. But when you accept everything in the field of possibilities, including the demons, and you start to love them, and you start to love yourself, and you start to go, I could laugh about this, actually. Who hasn't been suicidal for a day in their life, or 50 days, or 10 years. You know, I mean, some people, it's worse. It's hard to live here as an empath introvert. And also I'm a heyoka, so I'm pissing people off left and right accidentally, but makes them think, and then later they come and go, oh, all right, sorry, I was mad. Sorry, you what you said really stuck and triggered me, kind of stuck in my head and made me angry until I worked it out. So in a way, I'm kind of a demon myself. Not quite, but, you know, I don't try to tempt people. But I just want you guys to get that into your mind. Be humble, but stay great. Accept your greatness. And part of accepting your greatness is the great expanse of who you are. You're good, you're bad. Accept it all, baby, because you know what? All of it is God anyway. Every bit of it is God anyway. The vegans are God and the carnivores are God. The dinosaurs were God. The sharks are God. The fluffy penguins and the cute little bunny rabbits are God. The fawns grazing in a field are God, and the junkie in the back alley in New York City is God too. Heroin is God. Flowers are God. Fried chicken is God. Except the field of all possibilities, because all of it is God and all of it is you. We all are one and unity is real. All right, we're going to get right into it a little bit. I got to pause this for a second so I can get back over to these websites. Spaceweather.com has some gorgeous pictures. My God, you guys. The pictures are absolutely amazing. You have got to check out spaceweather.com because we've got Comet Neowise. I'm not going to get into this one, damn it. We have geomagnetic unrest today. All right, we got a big ass crack in the ass crack. I didn't mean to say that, but that's hilarious. Big crack in the Earth's magnetic field right now, and right in time, boom, for a slow-moving coronal mass ejection from the sun, and it's reaching us right now. Gorgeous, gorgeous pictures of that. The sky gave me such an eerie feeling, it made me want to cry. It's green, like emerald green, peridot green, orange, and yellow in the middle of the frickin' night. These pictures from Calgary, Alberta, Calgary in Canada, I think it's Alberta, Canada also. It's air glow. A luminous haze created by a complex assortment of chemical reactions in our atmosphere. You could say whatever the hell you want to say scientifically. I'm telling you, we live in the fifth dimension and the sky is absolutely magical, mystical, and cosmic in ways that we never thought were possible. And it's only getting better. Solar wind speed, 347.7 kilometers per second, so it has really picked up since yesterday. Sunspot number 11. We do have a sunspot right now, so that's good to know. We're still going to be hit by that solar wind tomorrow and Saturday, 24th, 25th. Is that right? Yeah, right. Tomorrow and Saturday. All right, 36 fireballs. Holy crap. I did not see this until right now. 35 are sporadic, and one is an alpha Capricorniid, according to the All Sky Fireball Network and NASA's All Sky cameras. That's just crazy talk. 36 fireballs. Oh my God. I mean, I feel like we're lucky to be alive sometimes, don't you? Be grateful. I feel like we're damn lucky to be alive. Right now, the Oulu neutron counts coming out of Finland, the reports are that very, very high. We have a 0.6% jump up today. We're up to 10.3% of the space age average for cosmic radiation raining down on us. If you feel weird, if you're feeling emotional, if you're feeling physically strange, Your tinnitus is kicking in. Your stomach is weird. Maybe you can't breathe. Throat chakra blockages. You know, all this crap. And seeing crap in your room. I just saw a ghost walk by. Are you here? Who are you? Are you God? God, you're not God. God's with me, inside me. Are you a ghost? Do you need help? Ooh, you need help crossing over? We're going to do that later. Is that okay? I'm going to take a break in a few minutes. How many of you are there? 2? 3? 4? Okay, you guys, I got 3 ghosts in my room. They need to cross over. So let's get through this. Schumann Resonance today, Power 20. Power 20. From disclosurenews.it. Not a whole lot going on there. All right, we got 6 minutes to get through the rest of this. I was too long-winded today and told you too many of my crazy-ass stories. All right, so Tuesday is the latest. Let's see if we can't get this a little bit better. Actually, maybe we can. Maybe we can. I am now on heartmath.org. Oh, goodness. Okay. So it looks like this is such a hard... All right, we were on it. Here we go. I'm trying to get this to... there we go. 2300 hour. The latest news, and it's like a day and a half ago. But here we go. This is a Schumann Resonance scale on heartmath.org. California was at 158 hertz frequency. Hafuf, Saudi Arabia is still at 0. Lithuania is at 171 hertz frequency. And Alberta, Canada is at 315. Woo, baby, 315 hertz frequency. Northland, New Zealand's at 87 hertz frequency. And last but not least, Hululu, South Africa is at 104 hertz frequency. So there you go. Let's see where we're at here. Wow, 3 minutes remaining. Got to get through this. And then I've got to take care of these spirits in my room. We are on lesson 340 in A Course in Miracles. Woo, getting down to the wire. 25 left. Oh my gosh. acim.org is the website for the Foundation for Inner Peace. And here is the lesson for today. Lesson 340. I can be free of suffering today. I can be free of suffering today. Father, I thank you for today and for the freedom I am certain it will bring. This day is holy, for today your Son will be redeemed. His suffering is done, for he will hear your voice directing him to find Christ's vision through forgiveness and be free forever from all suffering. Thanks for today, my Father. I was born into this world, but to achieve this day and what it holds in joy and freedom for your Holy Son and for the world he made, which is released along with him today. Be glad today. Be glad. There is no room for anything but joy and thanks today. Our Father has redeemed his Son this day. Not one of us but will be saved today. Not one who will remain in fear, and none the Father will not gather to himself, awake in heaven and in the heart of love. I can be free of suffering today. Makes me want to say, praise Jesus. That's an incredible lesson. What do you think? Are you ready to be free of suffering, baby? I know I am. That's for damn sure. I'm going to get these people off to heaven. I saw their white light. I think I know where they're going. They're happy. They're like, really? I'm not God. I can't judge you. You can only judge yourself, but I don't think you're going to the bad place. You've got good energy, guys. How did you guys die? Coronavirus, all 3 of you? No? Any of you? No? Good. That's good. Not coronavirus. Car accident? All right, well, we're going to talk about that in a minute. When I come back, I'm going to tell you guys about how these people died and what happened when I took them to heaven. It's crazy when this crap happens on my show. I'm telling you. Last week, the first part of God talking about telepathy, forgot to mention this. At 1 hour and 32 minutes in, I had a weird chirping laughter. There was a fairy in the room sitting right next to me, and I didn't hear it until I listened to it again. And I heard it. I'm like, oh my God. So please listen to my audio really carefully, because you might hear and see things, or not see things, but you're going to hear things that I didn't even know were there. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, guys. When I come back, we're going to do Saudi Arabian folk and fairy tales right after these messages. So stay tuned. It's that time of year, guys. Finally, OMG. I am up for not only one, but 2 People's Choice Podcast Awards this year. I had no idea. I just found out. Okay, the voting starts today, July 1st, and goes through the 31st of July. And I need you guys to nominate my podcast. This is how you do it. Go to podcastawards.com and you have to sign up in order to nominate me, in order to vote. And you have to go to the very first category at the top, and it's the Adam Curry's People's Choice Podcast Award. And I'm way down on the list because, M, Metaphysical Soul Speak, the podcast. And you just click that. And then when you're done with that section, you go to the religion and spirituality category. And again, cast your vote for Metaphysical Soul Speak, the podcast. And then you have to go way at the bottom part of the page, and say, save my nominations. And that's it. It's that simple. It takes less than 2 minutes, probably 1 minute if you have high-speed internet, of course. It's not that much. You can even do this on your phone. It's super, super simple. I voted for myself on my tablet. OMG. So thank you for your continued support and listenership and voting for this show, because by doing so, you're keeping the show alive and we're getting the word out so that other people can benefit from my expertise. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. All right, guys, before I get right into these Saudi Arabian fairy tales, I found some cool ones, by the way. Before I get into it, and before I tell you what happened with these spirits that came to my room randomly and became a part of the show, my life, oh my God. I told you guys, my life is crazy, and all these things happen constantly to me. This is my life, whether I'm recording a show or not. Fairies coming around, angels, demons, like anything and everything, just beings, and people who need help getting to heaven because they lost their way. But I forgot to mention about Henry Wines. I think his name is Weinstock, something like that. Henry. And the thing is with him is, it turns out that he recognized me from Facebook and acted like I was a famous person, and I didn't find out till like a month later that he himself is a really famous person in the world of business, and he had been on many news programs talking about the stock market, and he had been on Larry King like a couple times. So that's really weird, right? Like when famous people recognize me and I'm like a nobody. It's like, I'm on Facebook, you're recognizing me from Facebook and acting so excited to meet me like I'm a rock star. And it's weird because what the hell, I'm just like some random, and at the time when I met Henry, I was like a lot more overweight than I am now. I had just given birth to my second child, and it's like, it's still trying to lose that pregnancy weight, and I was having some health issues back then. I was actually dying, and I had a lot going on. I'm okay now, thank you God. But he recognized me, and I'm like, I'm just like a middle-aged housewife trying to make it in the travel industry. And I'm on like Facebook. I didn't have Instagram. I didn't even have I had my very first cell phone. I'd only had for like 6 months or something when I met him. Maybe a year I'd had it. It's like I'm literally living in the middle of nowhere with my family, working on the phone in network marketing in the travel industry, and I didn't it's like I'm living my life alone, anonymously. And this guy randomly recognizes me, and it turns out later I found out he himself is very, very, very famous, but in the circle of business, and mostly on the East Coast. Everybody knows him on the East Coast, and I'm like, I don't know who the hell this guy is, but I do now, and God bless him. I doubt he's listening to the show, but love him so much. What a cool person. I mean, he's a bright light. I swear to God, you see this guy, you're going to know he's either a Pleiadian or he's an angel incarnate. And he actually looks like an angel. His hair's like a halo. Anyway. Also, now looking back on it, his hair's a lot like Rick. Rick and Morty. It's the same kind of hair. Or Bart Simpson. But it's like that kind of jaggedy. But he just wants to be a unique individual. Can you imagine someone in business like that? And he is. And he's famous for it. Not because of his hair, but he's famous for his knowledge and his intelligence. Anyway. So I wanted to like finish that thought of like, and it turned out later he was famous and I'm not. Like, what? I've had that happen a lot. Marshall Silver, God bless him. He's a billionaire. First time he said, "Oh my God, Elena, oh my God, girl, I haven't seen you in like 6 years." He picked me up, spun me around. My kids are like, "How does a billionaire know your name?" They're like, "Dude, we were like just homeless a couple months ago, and you're friends with the billionaire? Like, what the hell?" I'm like, "I know. Welcome to my world." My world is very strange indeed. And speaking of strange indeed, yes. So this is what the story was with this family. They became a part of the show when they showed up in the middle of it. So here you go. This is what happened. So a father, a mother, and a son burned in a house fire. The little sister got her face kind of wrecked a little bit on one side, but she is getting treatments. There's a medicine here called cicatrice and also vitamin E treatments. and she's going to the doctor, and she's living with her abuelo y abuela, her grandparents, and she's okay. And it was years and years ago that they died, and but the three of them died in a house fire, and they were not really sure what to do, where to go, until they found me tonight. Apparently my angel of death beacon was out, so yes, I am the Archangel Azrael, angel of death, incarnate as a human. I've been living here for 10,000 years or 100,000 years, or God knows how long I've been here. I mean, the current acting angel of death, if you ever need to call upon him, is Archangel Hariel, Harriel. But people still pray to Azrael. That just it drains me. Part of my soul has to go fly over there and help him. And it's like, seriously, I could sleep 8 to 10 hours and wake up and act like it just feels like I've been asleep for 10 minutes. I'm exhausted sometimes, and a lot of it's because of this. All these new age people putting out, call upon Archangel Azrael it's like, fucking stop calling on me, dude. Oh my God, stop calling on archangels. Call upon God to send you the archangel of a specific thing. Please send me the angel of money. Send me the angel of death. Send me the angel. Don't call us by name, because a lot of us are actually incarnate right now to help us all ascend. Anyway, but I digress. Anyway, so this is what the situation was. And I had to call, I asked God. God told me the angels to call upon to help this family. I put them on a square platform, and above their head I put a massive round portal. I don't know why. That was the energy they needed. And Archangel Ariel and Archangel Michael came and surrounded them with their big, beautiful angel wings. And the family all, at first they were all holding hands, and then they decided to hug, kind of in a little trio, and just hugging each other. And I told them, don't worry. They were scared. They were so scared. I told them, don't worry, guys. Look, this is what's going to happen. The platform is going to raise by my breath, and you're going to go into that beautiful circular white portal, white light portal. And your holy guardian angels are going to reach down, and you're going to reach up and grab their hands, and you're going to pull them. They're going to pull you through the portal. And when you get there, all the animals you ever knew and loved are going to be there in front of all the people you ever knew and loved that all died. They're all there. All your family and friends. Neighbors, acquaintances, old bosses, anyone who's ever died, they're all there waiting to greet you and usher you into heaven. And they got really excited about that. This little boy was like, my abuelo, my other abuelo, because sisters with one set, but his other grandpa had died. He's like, oh, abuelo's there. Oh my gosh. He was so excited. He's going to see his other grandpa again. And they started to think about it. Oh yeah, okay. We're okay and comfortable with that. Like, what made you guys, I was curious. So I'm like, hey, what made you guys not go towards the light when you died in the fire? Well, the little boy said he thought it was a UFO and he got scared. Understandable. And the woman said that, it was like a round white portal above the house. And the little boy said he saw it over to the right of the house, and hers was above the house. So I guess they had 3 separate portals, which, to the little boy, if he saw all 3 of them, that's going to be like, holy crap, we're being invaded while we are in a friggin' fire. They're already disoriented and weird. Well, her thing was that she was thinking it was an explosion from the fire, and she was covering her head, and she thought she was still alive. She didn't think about, crap, I just died, I've got to go to the portal. She didn't think about that. She thought it was an explosion, and so she kind of bent away from the house and away from the portal, and she put her head on the ground with her hands over her head. And I asked the man, why did you stay? And he said, I'm not about to leave my wife and son. Very sweet, right? Anyway, so they got off to heaven okay, and there we go. Welcome to my world. This is just how it is. This kind of thing happens quite often. And you guys were here to witness it. How awesome is that? All right, so let me get over here to this website that I found, I'm going to read to you today. Where's the website that I found? There we go. Fairytales.com. FAIRYTALEZ. Fairytales.com. Love this website so much. In fact, if you write your own fairy tales, you could publish them on this website. All right, so what do they have to say about Saudi Arabian culture? Arabic fairy tales, folk tales, and fables. So they say the exotic world of Arabic fairy tales lets you immerse yourself in the myth and lore that inspired countless European folk tales and fairy stories. Arabian folk tales initiate the reader into mysterious kingdoms of untold wealth and unmatched beauty. They contain tales of genies and goblins, talking animals, and heroic princes and princesses that charm and delight. Arabic folktales circulated orally for thousands of years, and they're rooted in ancient and medieval culture and folklore, including Egyptian, Persian, Indian, and Mesopotamian influence. When Arabian fairy tales were first written down formally in the 14th century, they were contained in Syrian Arabic manuscripts. Oh, it's a beautiful picture here. I love this. Okay, so some of the most famous Arabic folktales are contained in 1001 Nights, compiled during the Islamic Golden Age. The most popular edition of this collection of folk tales was published by Andrew Lang in 1898, and he renamed it the Arabian Nights Entertainments. The origins of the stories in this collection are complex. Iraqi influences seen added to the stories in the 9th and 10th centuries, and a few original stories can be traced back to India and Persia in the 8th century. They are a rare gem for the literary world. Their roots and reach extend farther than can even be measured. Other Arabic fairy tale collections include Folklore and Legends Oriental, a publication with an unknown author. Arabic fairy tales were a source of entertainment and not tales for moral lessons and religious custom, unlike their European counterparts. The fairy tales are robust with themes of romance and magic that offered countless evenings of entertainment and inspired a rich culture of fables, epic poems, historical anecdotes, songs, and dance that have circulated the world over. So, you guys, I love to pray about the people in the cultures from which we're reading about when I do the fairy tale, folk tale stories. So if you could just pray for the Arab world, and we're going to include in that Saudi Arabia, who've had a lot of devastating snowstorms, and also they're being devastated economically as none of us are driving. We're all stuck at home because of quarantine. We're all in isolation, and they can't sell their barrels of oil. And that's what they've got going. I mean, it's all desert. They can't just have mass agricultural spreads. Some people do, but it's few and far between. My best friend from Tarout, his Jihad, his grandmother had a farm, a little tiny farm on a few acres, and he had a falling out with his father, and he went and lived with the grandma. And he ended up working and learning everything there is to know about the farm. It's pretty cool. And put himself through mechanic school, and now he's a mechanic in Los Angeles. He's actually an American, was born in the United States, and he's Saudi Arabian. He's like a dual citizenship. One of the coolest persons I've ever met in my life. His name is Jihad, which means struggle. And everything he's got, he worked towards himself. His riches, and he is rich. It all came from him, so I'm proud of him. He's one of my good friends. Haven't talked to him in a long time, but you know what? He's always in my mind. So Saudi Arabia, also Yemen, they've been in a civil war for a long time. In Syria, you all know about Syria. They're in a war too. So as you hear these tales, which are magical and entertaining, just please send love and light to the Arab world. You know, because the people, just the general people, the moms, the dads, the kids that are caught up in the middle of this crap, let's just send them all love and light. Because they are part of our human family, right? Everybody is part of our human family, but we're going to focus on the Arab world tonight. Well, that was just rude. I found a story that said it was a 1-minute read. 1 minute. 45 minutes into the story, it just was never ending. I had to delete that part of the audio, and I may make it a bonus track for you guys later. Just kind of a random, in addition to my 5 episodes this week type of thing. I may or may not, I don't know. It depends on how the story ends, I guess. But it's a really good story so far. So I was like kind of riveted by it. I thought, well, it's going to end any second. And then I started to read a second story, and it just started talking about slavery. I'm like, you know what? I'm not about that, so screw off. Slavery story. Not going to read you either. Well, we'll see what kind of luck we have on our fishing expedition of finding a nice story. And I found the story of the fisherman. This is a 1001 Nights. It was originally in Arabic. They say it's a 7-minute read. We shall see. We shall see. Sire, there was once upon a time a fisherman so old and so poor that he could scarcely manage to support his wife and 3 children. He went every day to fish very early, and each day he made a rule not to throw his nets more than 4 times. He started out one morning by moonlight and came to the seashore. He undressed and he threw his nets, and as he was drawing them toward the bank, he felt a great weight. He thought he had caught a large fish. Oh, and he felt very pleased. But a moment afterwards, seeing that instead of a fish, he had only in his nets the carcass of an ass, he was much disappointed. Vexed with having had such a bad haul, when he had mended his nets, which the carcass of the ass had broken in several places, he threw them a second time. In drawing them in, he felt a great weight, and so that he thought they were full of fish. But he only found a large basket of rubbish. He was very much annoyed. "Oh, Fortune," he cried, "do not trifle thus with me, a poor fisherman who can hardly support his family." So saying, he threw away the rubbish, and after having washed his nets clean of the dirt, he threw them for the 3rd time. But he only drew in stones, shells, and mud. He was almost in despair. Then he threw his nets for the 4th time. When he thought he had a fish, he drew them in with a great deal of trouble. There was no fish, however. He found a yellow pot, which by its weight seemed full of something, and he noticed that it was fastened and sealed with lead, with the impression of a seal. Oh, he was delighted. "I will sell it to the founder," he said. "With the money I shall get for it, I shall buy a measure of wheat." He examined the jar on all sides and shook it to see if it would rattle, but he heard nothing. And so, judging from the impression of the seal and the lid, he thought there must be something precious inside. To find out, he took his knife, and with a little trouble, he opened it. He turned it upside down, but nothing came out, which surprised him very much. He set it in front of him, and whilst he was looking at it attentively, such a thick smoke came out that he had to take a step back a pace or 2. The smoke rose up to clouds and stretched over the sea, and the shore formed a thick mist, which caused the fishermen much astonishment. When all the smoke was out of the jar, it gathered itself together and became a thick mass in which appeared a genius, twice as large as the largest giant. There's a clue. Were there giants in Saudi Arabia? Huh. Giants are real. Anyway, not that story. Not this story, though. All right, here we go. I mean, we're not going to talk about it during this story. The story is this story. Anyway, so there was a genius, like a genius, but they're calling a genius, but they mean a genie, like a jinn. There was a genius, twice as large as the largest giant. When he saw such terrible-looking monster, the fisherman would like to have run away, but he trembled so with fright that he could not move a step. "Great king of the genii," cried the monster, "I will never again disobey you." At these words, the fisherman took courage. "What is it that you are saying, great genius? Tell me your history and how you came to be shut up in that vase." At this, the genius looked at the fisherman haughtily. Ooh, there's that word. Haughtily. Said that word twice in the intro. Now here it is again. Haughthily. "Speak to me more civilly," he said, "before I kill you." "Alas, why should you kill me?" cried the fisherman. "I have just freed you. Have you already forgotten that?" "No," answered the genius, "but that will not prevent me from killing you, and I'm only going to grant you one favor, and that is to choose the manner of your death." "But what have I done to you?" asked the fisherman. Oh, he's just having a real shite day, isn't he? "I cannot treat you in any other ways," said the genius. "And if you would know why, listen to my story. I rebelled against the king of the genii. To punish me, he shut me up in this vase of copper, and he put on the leaden cover his seal, which is enchantment enough to prevent my coming out. Then he had the vase thrown into the sea. During the first period of my captivity, I vowed that if anyone should free me before 100 years were past, I would make him rich even after his death. But that century passed and no one freed me. In the second century, I vowed I would give all the treasures in the world to my deliverer, but he never came. In the third, I promised to make him a king, to be always near him, and to grant him 3 wishes every day. But that century passed away as the other 2 had done, and I remained in the same plight. At last I grew angry at being captive for so long, and I vowed, that if anyone would release me, I would kill him at once, and would only allow him to choose in what manner he should die. So you see, as you have freed me today, choose in what way you will die." Oh, the fisherman was very unhappy. "What an unlucky man I am to have freed you. I beg you to spare my life." "I have told you," said the genius, "that it is impossible. Choose quickly, you are wasting time." The fisherman began to devise a plot. "Since I must die," he said, "before I choose the manner of my death, I conjure you on your honor to tell me if you really were in that vase." "Yes, I was," answered the genius. "I really cannot believe it," said the fisherman. "That vase could not hold even your feet. And how could your whole body go in? I cannot believe it unless I see you get in." Then the genius began to change himself into smoke, which, as before, spread over the sea and the shore, and which then, collecting itself together, began to go back into the vase slowly and evenly till there was nothing left outside. Then a voice came from the vase, which said to the fisherman, "Well, unbelieving fisherman, here I am in the vase. Do you believe me now?" The fisherman, instead of answering, took the lid of lead, shut it down quickly on the vase. "Now, O genius," he cried, "ask pardon of me and choose by what death you will die. But no, it will be better if I throw you into the sea whence I drew you out, and I will build a house on the shore to warn all fishermen who come to cast their nets here against fishing up such a wicked genius as you are, who vows to kill the man who frees you." At these words, the genius did all he could to get out. But he could not because of the enchantment of the lid. Then he tried to get out by cunning. "If you take off the cover," he said, "I will repay you." "No," answered the fisherman. "If I trust myself to you, I am afraid you will treat me as a certain Greek king treated the physician Douban. Listen, and I will tell you." And for some reason, that's the end of the story. I'm going to look that one up, though, because we happen to have it here on fairytales.com. I love how they draw you in and then make you read the next story. So clever. I read this book when I was 1001 Arabian Nights. I read when I was 8 years old, and the book randomly showed up in my things after a move. It was by the grace of God. A bunch of Islamic texts they were in a box, and it said children's room. And I begged my dad to call the people and say, "Look, these are awesome books. Alice in Wonderland, a lot of fairy tales. I love fairy tales." This is one reason that I have a great deal of love for fairy tales, by the way. Because God sent me a box full of books that just turned a normal, old, boring, hot summer in Los Angeles in the suburbs into a wonderful, wild, mystical fantasy world. Literally transformed my life. It was the first time I'd ever heard of Islam. And I read Rubaiyat of the Rose by Omar Khayyam. Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. I mean, so many books I read from this box, most of which were Islamic, and 1001 Arabian Nights were in there. And they were so clever and so funny and just transported me to a magical kingdom, a different world filled with mystery and romance and a wonderful sense of humor. So I hope that you guys find that in these stories tonight. So here we go, without further ado. The story of the Greek king and the physician Douban. This is again from the 1001 Arabic Nights. 1001 Nights Arabic it says, but you know what I mean. Arabian Nights, basically. In the country of Schumann in Persia, there lived a Greek king. And this king was a leper. It's like one sentence in, and this is the sentence. This king was a leper. Oh my God. And all his doctors had been unable to cure him when a very clever physician came to his court. He was very learned in all languages and knew a great deal about herbs and medicines. And my God, you should see this guy's wild ass hat in this picture of fairytales.com. This kind of cool art. As soon as he was told of the king's illness, he put on his best robe and presented himself before the king. "Sire," said he, "I know that no physician has been able to cure your majesty, but if you will follow my instructions, I will promise to cure you without any medicines or outward application." The king listened to this proposal. "If you are clever enough to do this," he said, "I promise to make you and your descendants rich forever." The physician went to his house and made a polo club. The shirt. What? The handle of which he hollowed out and put it in the drug he wished to use. Then he made a ball, and with these things he went the next day to the king. He told him that he wished him to play at polo. Accordingly, the king mounted his horse and went into the place where he played. Then the physician approached him with his bat that he had made, and he said, "Take this, sire, and strike the ball till you feel your hand and whole body in a glow. When the remedy that is in the handle of the club is warmed by your hand, it will penetrate through your body. Then you must return to your palace, bathe, and go to sleep. And when you awake tomorrow morning, you will be cured." The king took the club, urged his horse after the ball, which he had thrown. He struck it, and then it was hit back by the courtiers who were playing with him. When he felt very hot, he stopped playing, and he went back to the palace, went into the bath, and did all the physician had said. The next day, when he arose, he found to his great joy and astonishment that he was completely cured. When he entered his audience chamber, all his courtiers, who were eager to see if the wonderful cure had been effected, were overwhelmed with joy. The physician Douban entered the hall and bowed low to the ground. The king, seeing him, called him, made him sit by his side, and showed him every mark of honor. That evening he gave him a long and rich robe of state and presented him with 2,000 sequins. Wait, sequins, really? Hey. Sequins. The following day he continued to load him with favors. Party favors? That could be fun. Now the king had a grand vizier who was very avaricious and envious, and he was a very bad man. He grew extremely jealous of the physician and determined to bring about his ruin. Of course, always a fly in the ointment. In order to do this, he asked to speak in private with the king, saying that he has a most important communication to make. "What is it?" said the king. "Sire," answered the Grand Vizier, "it is most dangerous for a monarch to confide in a man whose faithfulness is not proved. You do not know that this physician is not a traitor, come here to assassinate you." "I am sure," said the king, "that this man is the most faithful and virtuous of men. If he had wished to take my life, why did he cure me? Cease to speak against him. I see what it is. You are jealous of him, but do not think that I can be turned against him. I remember well what a vizier said to King Sindbad, his master, to prevent him from putting the prince, his son, to death. What the Greek king said excited the vizier's curiosity. And he said to him, 'Sire, I beg your majesty to have the condescension to tell me what the vizier said to the king Sindbad.' This vizier," he replied, "told King Sindbad that one ought not believe everything that a mother-in-law says." And he told them this story. It's like one leads to another. Okay, all right. I think what they're meaning, and it says go to the next story, which is the story I just told you guys. The story of the fisherman, of course. All right, we're going to see where we're at now. All right, 18 minutes in. Good. I'm going to go find a couple more. This next story is called The Traveler's Adventure. This is from the Oriental Arabic stories called Folklore and Legends. It is related that a man mounted upon a camel in the course of traveling arrived at a place where others from the same caravan had lighted a fire before proceeding on their journey. The fan-like wind breathing on the embers had produced a flame, and the sparks flying over the jungle, the dry wood had become ignited. and the whole plain glowed like a bed of tulips. In the midst of this was an enormous snake, which, encircled by the flames, possessed no means of escape, and was about to be broiled like a fish, or kebabbed like a partridge for the table. Blood oozed from its poison-charged eyes, and seeing the man and the camel, it thus supplicated for assistance. What if, in kindness, thou vouchsafe me thy pity? Loosen the knot with which my affairs are entangled. Now the traveler was a good man, and one who feared God. And when he heard the complaint of the snake, and saw its pitiable condition, he reasoned thus with himself: the snake is indeed the enemy of man, but being in trouble and perplexity, it would be most commendable in me to drop the seed of compassion, the fruit of which is prosperity in this world and exaltation in the next. Thus convinced, he fastened one of his saddlebags to the end of his spear and extended it to the snake, which, delighted at escape, entered the bag and was rescued from the flames. The man then, opening the mouth of the bag, addressed it thus: Depart whither thou wilt, but forget not to offer up thanksgiving for thy preservation. Henceforth seek the corner of retirement, and cease to afflict mankind, for they who do so are dishonest in this world and the next. Fear God, distress no one. This indeed is true salvation. And the snake replied, O young man, hold thy peace, for I truly will not depart until I have wounded both thee and this camel. The man cried out, But how is this? Have I not rendered thee a benefit? Why then is such to be my recompense? On my part there was faithfulness. Why then this injustice upon thine? The snake said, True, thou hast shown mercy, but it was to an unworthy object. Thou knowest me to be an agent of injury to mankind. Consequently, when thou savest me from destruction, thou subjectst thyself to the same rule that applies to the punishment due for an evil act committed against a worthy object. Again, the snake and man, there is a long-standing enmity between them. Again, between the snake and man, there is a long-standing enmity. And they who employ foresight hold it as a maxim of wisdom to bruise the head of an enemy. To thy security my destruction was necessary. But in showing mercy, thou hast forfeited vigilance. It is now necessary that I should wound thee, and that others may learn by thy example. Ah, the man cried, O snake, call but in the council of justice, in what creed is it written, or what practice declares that evil should be returned for good, or that the pleasure of conferring benefits should be returned by injury and affliction? The snake replied, Such is the practice among men. I act according to my own decree. The same commodity of retribution I have purchased from thee I also sell. Buy for one moment that which thou sellest for years. Now in vain did the traveler entreat, the snake ever replying, I do but treat thee after the manner of men. This the man denied. But said he, Let us call witnesses, if thou prove thy assertion. I will yield to thy will. The snake, looking round, saw a cow grazing at a distance, and said, Come, we will ask this cow the rights of the question. When they came up to the cow, the snake, opening its mouth, said, "O cow, what is the recompense for benefits received?" The cow said, "If thou ask me, after the manner of men, the return of good is always evil. For instance, I was for a long time in the service of a farmer. Yearly I brought forth a calf. I supplied his house with milk and ghee. His sustenance, the life of his children, depended upon me. When I became old and no longer producing young, he ceased to shelter me, and he thrust me forth to die in a jungle. After finding forage and roaming at my ease, I grew fat, and my old master, seeing my plump condition yesterday, brought with him a butcher to whom he has sold me, and today is appointed for my slaughter." The snake said, "Thou hast heard the cow. Prepare to die quickly." The man cried, "It is not lawful to decide a case on the evidence of one witness. Let us call upon another." The snake looked about and saw a tree, leafless and bare, flinging up its wild branches to the sky. "Let us," it said, "appeal to this tree." They proceeded together to the tree, and the snake, opening its mouth, said, "O tree, what is the recompense for good?" The tree said, "Amongst men, for benefits are returned to evil and injury. I will give you proof of what I assert. I am a tree, which, though growing on one leg in this sad waste, was once flourishing and green, performing service to everyone. When any of the human race, overcome with heat and travel, came this way, they rested beneath my shade and slept beneath my branches. When the weight of the repose abandoned their eyelids, they cast up their eyes to me and said to each other, 'Yon twig would do well for an arrow. That branch should serve for a plow. And from the trunk of this tree, what beautiful planks it might be made.' If they had had an axe or saw, they selected my branches and carried them away. Thus they to whom I gave ease and rest rewarded me only with pain and affliction. Whilst my care overshadows him in perplexity, he meditates only how best to root me up." "Well," said the snake, "here are 2 witnesses. Therefore form thy resolution, for I must wound thee." The man said, "True, but the love of life is powerful, and while strength remains, it is difficult to root the love of it from the heart. Call but one more witness, and then I pledge myself to submit to his decree." Now it is so wonderfully happened that a fox, yay fox, who had been standing by, had heard all the argument and now came forward. The snake, on seeing it, exclaimed, "Behold, this fox. Let us ask it." But before the man could speak, the fox cried out, "Dost thou not know that the recompense for good is always evil? But what good hast thou done on behalf of this snake to render thee worthy of punishment?" The man related his story. The fox replied, "Thou seemest an intelligent person. Why then dost thou tell me an untruth? How can it be prosper for him that is wise to speak falsely? How can it become an intelligent man to state an untruth?" The snake said, "The man speaks truly, for behold the bag in which he rescued me." Oh, the fox, putting on the garb of astonishment, said, "How can I believe this thing? How could such a large snake, such as thou, be contained in so small a space?" The snake said, "If thou doubt me, I will enter again the bag to prove it." The fox said, "Truly, if I saw thee there, I could believe it, and afterwards settle the dispute between thee and this man." On this, the traveler opened the bag, and the snake, annoyed at the disbelief of the fox, entered it. Which, observing, the fox cried out, "O young man, when thou hast caught thine enemy, show him no quarter. When an enemy is vanquished and in thy power, it is the maxim of the wise to show him no mercy." The traveler took the hint of the fox, fastened the mouth of the bag, dashing it against the stone, destroyed the snake, and thus saved mankind from the evils of its wicked propensities. It's so sad. Sad. Snakes. But you know what? Sometimes you just can't stop somebody's nature. I think that's what that's about. Kind of like the scorpion and the frog story. Alright, this next legend is again from Folklore and Legends, Oriental Arabic. The Two Cats. So here we go. In former days there was an old woman who lived in a hut, more confined than the minds of ignorant, and more dark than the tombs of misers. Her companion was a cat, from the mirror of whose imagination the appearance of bread had never been reflected, nor had she, from friends or strangers, ever heard its name. It was enough that she now and then scented a mouse, or observed the print of its feet on the floor, when blessed by favoring stars or benignant fortune, one fell into her claws. She became like a beggar who discovers a treasure of gold. Her cheeks glowed with rapture, and past grief was consumed by present joy. This feast would last for a week or more, while enjoying it, she was wont to exclaim, "Am I, O God, when I contemplate this, in a dream or awake? Am I to experience such prosperity after such adversity?" But as the dwelling of the old woman was in general the mansion of famine to this cat, she was always complaining and forming extravagant and fanciful schemes. One day, when reduced to extreme weakness, she with much exertion reached the top of the hut, when there, she observed a cat stalking on the wall of a neighbor's house, which like a fierce tiger advanced with measured steps, and was so loaded with flesh that she could hardly raise her own species, so fat and sleek. I'm sorry, I skipped a line. That was like it. Did it make sense? Okay, start over. So like a fierce tiger, she advanced with measured steps, and was so loaded with flesh that she could hardly raise her feet. The old woman's friend was amazed to see one of her own species so fat and sleek, and broke out into the following exclamation: "Your stately strides have brought you here at last. Pray tell me from whence you come. From whence have you arrived with so lovely an appearance? You look as if from the banquet of the Khan of Katai. Where have you acquired such a comeliness? And how came you by that glorious strength?" The other answered, "I am the Sultan's crumb eater. Each morning when they spread the convivial table, I attend at the palace, and there exhibit my address and courage. From among the rich meats and wheat cakes, I cull a few choice morsels. I then retire and pass my time till next day in delightful indolence." The old dame's cat requested to know what rich meat was, and what taste wheat cakes had. "As for me," she added in a melancholy tone, "during my life I have neither eaten nor seen anything but the old woman's gruel and the flesh of mice." The other, smiling, said, This accounts for the difficulty I find in distinguishing you from a spider. What? That's a really weird insult. Your shape and stature is such as must make the whole generation of cats blush, and we must ever feel ashamed while you carry so miserable an appearance abroad. You certainly have the ears and tail of a cat, but in other respects you are a complex spider. Were you to see the Sultan's palace, to smell his delicious viands, most undoubtedly those withered bones would be restored. You would receive new life. You would come from behind the curtains of invisibility into the plane of observation. When the perfume of his beloved passes over the tomb of a lover, is it wonderful that his putrid bones should be reanimated? The old woman's cat addressed the other in the most supplicating manner. "Oh, my sister," she exclaimed, "have I not the sacred claims of a neighbor upon you? Are we not linked in the ties of kindred? What prevents your giving a proof of friendship by taking me with you when next you visit the palace? Perhaps from your favor, plenty may flow to me, and from your patronage I may attain dignity and honor. Withdraw not from the friendship of the honorable, abandon not the support of the elect." The heart of the Sultan's crumb-eater was melted by his pathetic address. She promised her new friend that she accompany her on her next visit to the palace. The latter, overjoyed, went down immediately from the terrace and communicated every particular to the old woman, who addressed her the following counsel: "Be not deceived, my dearest friend, with the worldly language you have listened to. Abandon not your corner of content, for the cup of this covetous is only to be filled with the dust of the grave, and the eye of cupidity in hope that can only be closed by the needle of mortality and the thread of fate. It is content that makes men rich. Mark this, ye avaricious, who travels the world, he neither knows nor pays adoration to his God, who is dissatisfied with his condition and his fortune." But the expected feast had taken such possession of poor Puss's imagination that the medicinal counsel of the old woman was thrown away. The good advice of all the world is like wind in a cage, or water in a sieve, which bestowed on the headstrong. To conclude, next day, accompanied by her companion, the half-starved cat hobbled over to the Sultan's palace. Before this unfortunate wretch came, it is decreed that the covetous shall be disappointed. An extraordinary event had occurred, and owing to her evil destiny, the water of disappointment was poured on the flame. I'm sorry, I lost my place. Was poured on the flame of her immature ambition. The case was this: the whole legion of cats had the day before surrounded the feast and made so much noise that they disturbed the guests, and in consequence the Sultan had ordered that some archers armed with bows from Tartary should on this day be concealed, and that whatever cat advanced in the field of valor, considered with his shield of audacity, should on eating the first morsel be overtaken with their arrows. The old dame's puss was not aware of this order. The moment the flavor of the viands reached her, she flew like an eagle to the place of her prey. Wow. Scarcely had the weight of a mouthful been placed in the scale to balance her hunger when a heart-dividing arrow pierced her breast. A stream of blood rushed from the wound. She fled in dread of death, after having exclaimed, "Should I escape from this terrible archer, I will be sacrificed with my mouse." So let me say it again. "Should I escape with this terrible archer, I will be satisfied with my mouse and the miserable hut of my old mistress. Oh, my soul rejects the honey if accompanied by the sting. Content with the most frugal fare is preferable." I don't know. I don't think I followed part of that. But it was kind of interesting, right? Alright, so let's see if I can find another one real quick, a short one. Alright guys, we have one more left. I'm going to end this section a little earlier than I thought I would because I'm starting to fall asleep and my battery's down to 34%. So here we go. Hopefully this is a good one. That cat one I just don't get. Maybe you guys got it. Maybe I was just too suddenly overcome with cosmic radiation or something. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but hopefully there's something deeper there that I will listen to later and maybe understand. Okay, this is the very last story of the evening. Fortune and the Woodcutter. This is from Andrew Lang's fairy books in Arabic, or taken from the Arabic. Several hundreds of years ago, there lived in a forest a woodcutter and his wife and children. He was very poor, having only his axe to depend upon, and 2 mules to carry the wood he cut to the neighboring town. But he worked hard, and he was always out of bed by 5 o'clock, summer and winter. This went on for 20 years, and though his sons were now grown up and went with their father to the forest, everything seemed to go against them, and they remained as poor as ever. In the end, the woodcutter lost heart, and he said to himself, "What is the good of working like this if I never am a penny the richer at the end? I shall go into the forest no more, and perhaps if I take to my bed, and I do not run after fortune, one day she may come to me." So the next morning he did not get up, and when 6 o'clock struck, his wife, who had been cleaning the house, went to see what was the matter. "Are you ill?" she asked, wonderingly, surprised at not finding him dressed. "The cock has crowed ever so often. It is high time for you to get up." "Why should I get up?" asked the man, without moving. "Why? To go to the forest, of course." "Yes, and when I have toiled all day, I hardly earned enough to even give us 1 meal." "But what can we do, my poor husband?" said she. "It is just a trick of fortune's, who will never smile upon us." "Well, I've had my fill of fortune's tricks," cried he. "If she wants me, she could find me here. But I've done with the wood forever." "Oh, my dear husband, grief has driven you mad. Do you think fortune will come to anybody who does not go after her? Dress yourself and saddle the mules and begin your work. Do you know that there is not a morsel of bread in the house? I don't care if there isn't, and I am not going into the forest. It is no use your talking. Nothing will make me change my mind." Then the distracted wife begged and implored in vain. Her husband persisted in staying in bed. And at last, in despair, she left him and went back to her work. An hour or two later, a man from the nearest village knocked at her door. When she opened it, he said to her, "Good morning, mother. I have got a job to do, and I want to know if your husband will lend me your mules. As I see, he is not using them, and can lend me a hand himself." "Ah, he is upstairs. You better go ask him," answered the woman, and the man went up and repeated his request. "Oh, I am sorry, neighbor, but I have sworn not to leave my bed, and nothing will make me break my vow." "Well, then, will you lend me your 2 mules? I will pay you something for them." "Oh, certainly, neighbor. Take them, and welcome." So the man left the house, and leading the mules from the stable, placed 2 sacks on their back, drove them to a field where he had found a hidden treasure. He filled the sacks with money, though he knew perfectly well that it belonged to the Sultan, and was driving them quietly home again when he saw 2 soldiers coming along the road. Oh, great. That's always a way. Olden time police. Now the man was aware that if he was caught, he would be condemned to death. So he fled back into the forest. The mules, left to themselves, took the path that led to their master's stable. The woodcutter's wife was looking out of the window when the mules drew up before the door, so heavily laden that they almost sank under their burdens. She lost no time in calling her husband, who was still lying in his bed. "Quick, quick, get up as fast as you can. Our 2 mules returned with sacks on their backs, so heavily laden with something or other that the poor beasts can hardly stand up." "Wife, I have told you a dozen times already that I am not going to get up. Why can't you leave me in peace?" As she found she could get no help from her husband, the woman took a large knife and cut the cords which bound the sacks to the animals' backs. They fell at once to the ground, and one outpoured a rain of golden pieces, till the little courtyard shone like the sun. "A treasure!" gasped the woman, as soon as she could speak from surprise. "A treasure!" And she ran off to tell her husband. Get up, she cried. "You were right not to go to the forest, and to await fortune in your bed. She has come at last. Our mules have returned home laden with all the gold in the world, and now it's lying in the court. No one in the whole country can be as rich as we are." In an instant, the woodcutter was on his feet and running to the court, where he paused, dazzled by the glitter of the coins which lay all around him. "Yes, my dear wife, that I was right," he said at last. "Fortune is so capricious. You can never count on her. Run after her, and she is sure to fly from you. Stay still, and she is sure to come." Well, for a last story, you guys, oh my gosh. Did that not relate to my story of Laurent in the beginning? Oh my God, he was chasing, and then we just said, yeah. And he just became a drug counselor for a while. And then all of a sudden the mayor called him, and now he's back and running and got back into the Michael Beckwith church, and now he has his own congregation. Fortune found him, and so did fame. Ish. You know, he became friends with a lot of famous people. It's what he always wanted to. It's always one thing he always wanted to have. And for a very long time, he ignored his calling, by the way. And his family, they were Baptist. Oh my gosh. And he was gay. So that wasn't working out too well. But now he's a minister of a spiritual church, and it's working out wonderfully, where gay people are welcome. And it turns out that he was meant to go into the family business after all. His uncle was a minister, and his whole family was in the church. And he took this eventually and went into the church in a way that suited his lifestyle and suited him. But it's funny how that does happen, right? You seek and seek and seek and seek it, and then you're just like, you know what, I'm not getting out of bed today. I'm done. God, you can bring it to me or not. Because I'm just, I'm not going to chase anymore. I'm going to let it come to me. And when you do that, that's when you get your reward. I don't know why it is, but it is. It's the way it is. Anyway, that's it, guys, for tonight. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Metaphysical Soul Speak, the podcast. I like talking about the fairy tales, fairy stories. A lot of them are about philosophy and wisdom, and a lot of them actually have fairies, literally fairies, and magic. And a lot of them have genies or giants or talking animals, which I love. So there you have it. I mean, and this is across the board in all cultures so far that we've studied. Every few Thursdays, I get the itch to listen to some old-fashioned stories. I just want to see where we're going, where we're from as a species. It's interesting. Well, that's it, guys. Don't forget to vote for me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell all your friends and family, all the people who are spiritually growing and becoming more and more aware and awake in these days. I mean, it does feel like we are at the end of the world. It's really happening. And a lot of people are spiritually awakening, and a lot of people need guidance. And if you think I've given you good guidance, please just tell them, hey, listen to Metaphysical Soul Speak, the podcast. You can listen to me on anchor.fm/metaphysical. And that's it. So, if you want to write me, you could write me at Instagram at mermaidgirl888. I'm still unable to access my email. Just a lot of boring story there I don't want to go into, but metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com is my email, but right now I don't have an access to it, and I will soon, but I don't right now. And it's been a couple months, so if you have written me in the past 2.5 months, I have not written you back because I can't get into my email. For some reason, Gmail won't allow my tablet to access my email, so I've got to fix my computer, and it's kind of a long, dragged-out deal. So I've got to factory reset it and hire a guy, and I've got thousands of files I have failed to put on a giant, it's not even a thumb drive, it's this massive drive that my son bought me for Christmas. I still haven't done it yet, so I'm gonna do it. I'm also having to build a firewall out of another computer. It's a whole thing. It's like there's a lot involved. So I'm gonna do it. When I do it, I'll be able to access that again. But until then, at mermaidgirl888, follow me on Instagram and go look at some of my inspirational stories I put up, as well as, you can write me a note. And also, if you want me to channel your deceased loved ones, that's been a theme for me this week, and I've been okay with that. So if you want to, I wanted to just announce on the show, in the description, it's $111, 111. That's how much I charge for that. Because this is COVID-19 crisis for July. For July only, so it's running out. I have a special, $77. So from 111 down to 77, just for this month, I will channel for you. I'll channel God. I'll channel your holy guardian angel, Jesus himself, or your great Aunt Tilly, or your Uncle Milty. Not the original Uncle Milty. I mean, the movie stars that have passed don't generally have the time, but if they're willing, I could try. Just let me know at Mermaid Girl 88 if you want me to do a channeling, and let me know of who and what you want to know, what you want to talk to, who you want to talk to, and why. We'll see. Well, I'll ask the person, get in contact with them first, and see if they're willing to talk to you or able. People are super busy on their side, way busier than we are here. Hard to believe, but it's really true. Anyway, there it is. That's it. I will be back tomorrow with all unique and original programming, just like always. Tomorrow is Friday, and what that means for you is that we will have one more episode of the Earth Changes Report and weekly Weird World News. Heaven willing, and the creeks don't rise. But since this is an Arabic night, we're going to say Inshallah, which means as Allah wills it, or as God wills it, because Allah just, in the end, is just a word for God. So as God allows. I'll be back tomorrow. And that's what we're going to do for a theme. All right. So, well, that's it, guys. I love you. Thank you for putting your faith and continued support into me and my show. I really, really appreciate that we are on this ascension journey together. I really appreciate that I don't have to do this alone. I really appreciate that I am able to help you with all my wisdom from my 34 plus years of studying spiritual and metaphysical things. I'm really grateful that I could pass my wisdom along to you, and you can help others as well. Pay it forward, baby. Anyway, well, that's it. That's all she wrote for tonight. I really love you guys. Thank you so much. That's it. I'm signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the Holy Fifth Dimension. Until next time, guys, peace. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.